Hello, welcome to another edition of AI versus Marshy. This is the video version. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, you can do that at lukemarshall.net/newsletter. And feeling pretty energized because we've got a good night's sleep. It's been a rough few weeks, some of which I've shared in these videos. And today it's rainy and miserable in Melbourne, but it's bright and smiley in front of this camera. So welcome. If you're new to seeing this video, what I do is I record me talking through the newsletter that happens each week. I cover what's happening in AI and try and ground it in reality. There's a lot of hype out there, and I actually think just bringing it down like several notches actually helps, and try and share things that are practical that can actually apply today. So if you want to check out more, lukemarshall.net/newsletter, and let's get on with it. So I thought, there's been a bit of hype and the like, and I actually want to talk through some of the crappy things about AI. So I'll do that in a sec, some uncomfortable truths. 3 Aussie companies right now that are killing it, that utilize AI as well. And I'll give you my last update of this kind on the TheLeadMagnet.biz and explain where I'm going next with that. Cool. So the first thing, here is 3 uncomfortable truths about AI right now. The first of which is we're probably in a massive bubble. There's an interesting video shared in the newsletter by a guy named Ed. I don't necessarily like all his snark, but there's some pretty cold hard truths that he drops both in the YouTube and the follow-up article about just, what we're being told and what the reality is are 2 different things. I think, there's a good chance we're in a bubble. We've seen the hype cycle sort of go zoop, and now it's starting to go down a little bit. My pushback on that, though, is tech has this cyclical contracting and expanding pattern that has happened, since the dawn of tech. And, we had the dot-com boom and dot-com boom. And now, a good 25 years later or just under, 5 of the world's most valuable companies are all tech companies. So this, it does happen. I think there is going to be a drop and a bit of backlash. But the good thing about all this is that, and it's probably a good segue into the next article, is that, AI unto itself as a capability, it just, that's not the thing. It enables things, and it'll be game-changing for society in many ways, shapes, and forms over the decades to come. But as a chat interface, it's kind of horrible on its own. And Benedict Evans does a really interesting take on this. It's actually a long-form article. E-commerce at the start was poo-pooed. They said, you can't do this, da-da-da. Now it's one of the most valuable channels to retail ever invented. And but at the start, there was a lot of things that weren't necessarily tech problems to solve for, consumer behavior. And also there were some extra periphery sort of problems like logistics and stuff. So there wasn't enough bandwidth. Building this stuff took a complicated development time. And as things evolved, e-commerce became a force to be reckoned with. So I feel like, ChatGPT is a bit there now, or LLMs in general. There's a pretty horrible use case at the moment if you pay for LinkedIn Premium, where it suggests questions to post in the comments and with AI, and it's just a horrible use case. Just putting chat onto something, it doesn't work. Don't do it. It's gross. Okay, third problem, and probably the biggest one from my perspective, I'm a bit of a lefty, is the real problem isn't the existential threat. It's actually corporate greed, and the way the existential threat is made, and I don't want to dilute it, but currently we humans, despite all our best efforts, are the smartest, and computers are useful, but they can't reason naturally, like we do. This is hot, stop touching it. So then, when and if they can reason, actually reason instead of mimicking it, their intelligence will be able to grow exponentially. It'll leapfrog ours very quickly, and with that self-reinforcing feedback loop, it'll just zoom, intelligence will go berserk, theoretically, and then we'll die. And the classic thought experiment with this is if you had an AI that was really concentrated on building paperclips, and its goal was to keep reproducing paperclips, and if it learnt how to do that better and better over time, it would ultimately wipe out the human race, because they'd be able to create the paper clips better than if we were getting in the way of creating the paper clips. I butchered that thought experience. It's by Nick Bostrom. It was a paper done in 2014. He's got a book called Superintelligence. There's a lot of literature on this. But I think the real reality right now is the real threats are more like the planet. Google backed out of its climate change agreement because AI takes a lot of energy to power. And that's kind of a shitty reason. And all the tech companies are doing this, are all refusing to release how much energy this stuff is actually taking to create and compile and do all that jazz. And then the other thing is the human cost. To feed all this data into these algorithms requires human power still. And there's something called the Data Workers Inquiry, which is looking to all the crappy things that have happened, to do with fueling AI. And so definitely worth looking into. This is a sort of investigation. I don't like this article. Generative AI is a climate disaster. It does. It's like a bit without any solutions. But this does make the point that it is actually very hard to get this information. Like, does it consume more water? Does it consume more energy? And there's not. I've seen some papers, but it's hard to get a clear answer from the big tech companies. Okay, let's change gears and let's talk about Aussie companies currently doing things with AI. The first one I want to share is Andromeda. It's co-founded by Grace. It's an AI and robotics startup focused on building compassionate human-robot interactions. I got to see these guys pitch very early on in the piece. I love Abby. Lots of personality for a robot. You can follow Abby on Insta. And some of the use cases are like using these robots to engage people in aged care homes and do stretches and exercise. It's quite fun, engaging. Really fun tech, and it's quite a leap to sort of be thinking about the interaction with robots and humans, but absolutely worth doing. The next one is Phonely. This one's out of Melbourne, two University of Melbourne alumni. I crossed paths with Will when he was at Start Space. They've now moved into the latest YC Combinator round. Congratulations to them. You can actually go to Phonely's homepage and check it out and talk to Phonely. Essentially, it'll answer your calls for you for a sum and a certain amount of minutes, and you can add automation to it. And that's a pretty cool use case. So check it out. And then inTruth, founded by Nicole Gibson. I saw her talk at the Startup Network event last year. I've kept following her, and they're almost released. They're going to commercialization stage with inTruth. inTruth is technology that helps objective emotional recognition through a wearable device and reporting to your phone. I'm a big fan of this. It's early days in tech, but essentially, from all the recovery and trauma work I have done and sort of being in recovery rooms, there's a good majority, if not all, of the population where we're walking around emotionally hijacked. And the challenge is we don't know when we're being hijacked half the time. So we could be, making an impulsive decision that's reactive, that's not in their best interest or your best interest, and then we can post-rationalize or rationalize it on the fly with logic, but actually it's anger fueling that or an emotional reaction. And so being aware of this is very important as a leader. And so I love what they're doing. You can check them out at inTruth's website. And so TheLeadMagnet.biz, a bit of an experiment, started a month ago or so. Essentially wanted to build something with our tools that I could potentially, hoik and sell. I did 5 sprints, pouring through this, running ads, testing, trying to update landing page and copy, and using the tools to basically procure customers. And got 650 odd visitors, 3 sort of sounds okay, just with verbal chats, and no signups. And so I think with advertising and sort of data and practicing what I preach, that's not that's not an exciting yes to have that many people see the webpage and go for it. But it's not the end. I actually am partnering with another partner to actually go to market with a different offer, similar space, and focusing far more acutely on early B2B startup founders. So more about that to come, but it was a good experiment and worth a shot. I don't talk about them very much in my newsletter or even this video, but the Western Bulldogs are an amazing football team that I love. They're perennial underperformers with only 2 flags, and we had a great win last week, and I feel like we're going to win against all odds this week against Geelong. It's too much detail, but Geelong have beaten us every time apart from 2 in the last 20 years when we play over at their stadium. And I'm going to make the drive tonight and see a different outcome. I've just got a feeling. I'm really excited. So if you wanted to subscribe to the newsletter and watched to the video to the end, you can, lukemarshall.net/newsletter. And if not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know. You can find this on YouTube and LinkedIn. And you'll hear from me again next week. Bye.